It's all over our social media feeds that Joe Biden is fake, that the presidency is fake. That it's not real, ladies and gentlemen. That nothing about Joe Biden is real, and that all of it has been a centralized and coordinated plan in order to trick you, in order to rig your democracy. All of the people that scream day and night till they're red in the face about I'm a democracy. Those people, you have Hillary Clinton on the news shows last night. She's on the late night show, right? Last night, super cringe, Jimmy Fallon appearance. And she says, Joe Biden's going to win. I don't even know why we have to have an election. I'm paraphrasing. We'll play the clip for you. Hillary Clinton's like, I don't even want an election. Why do we even have to have these elections? They're so annoying. Why don't we just let AI decide, right? Well, I mean, quite literally, it's what they're heading towards. So they think that democracy is antiquated, and they think that actually it should be the elites that get together and decide who's president, and then they get to benefit, right? They get to continue to strip mine this country and destroy this great place. It used to be a really great country. And that system is obviously led to the enrichment of a couple of very small, worst families probably in the country, the Bidens, the Clintons, the Pelosi's, and so on, and the destruction of the rest of our American dream. But that's the system they want because that's the system that gives them power. And they want to be able to effectively just push the button every time and get power. All right? They don't like the fact that they sometimes push the button and it goes bar, 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 and they lose. They don't like that. They don't like it. And part of the way that you rig a system, or what was the what did Time Magazine write? Reinforce democracy. What was the exact phraseology of time? They reinforced the election, right? What was that Time Magazine article where these evil people had to effectively like tell us what they did during the 2020 election? Fortify the election. How long did they come up? How long did it take them to come up with that? Fortify the election. There you go. So they fortified the election. They did so by ensuring that nobody, not only could you not see bad information about Joe Biden, like the Hunter Biden laptop, right? Not only, and the biggest crime actually, I think, is that we knew about the Hunter Biden laptop for a long time. And nobody went public with it. Not we. It's not like I was keeping it from you. But the powers that be knew about this information and it had been leaked for like a year ahead of time. Like, why didn't they just come out with it? Why did they allow the social media censors and everybody to like tighten up? And why didn't we get like a full-scale investigation? Like then, you should have just come out with it, right? Let them answer these questions. But that coil, right? It wound so tightly around the necks of all of us on social media, but even tighter still around the necks of reporters that dare ask Joe Biden questions. Now we have an example here. The breaking news of today is there is a corporate media reporter who did an interview with Joe Biden, a very, a relatively long interview with Joe Biden, and she's out today saying everything was scripted. None of it's real. All of it's fake. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to like show you and reinforce this with a couple of important data points before we get into this story. All right. Number one, at the White House, on occasion, you can see Joe Biden with a note card. He generally has like a stack of note cards printed off in size 48 font, big enough for a photographer who's generally the photographers are seated pretty far away from the president, big enough for the photographers to like snap a photo of what's on the card. And lo and behold, this is from about a year ago. Lo and behold, actually it's from almost exactly a year ago. There you go. Nailed it. Okay, great. Fantastic. The ALX AI moment. From a year ago, you have this card screenshotted of Joe Biden. So here's the actual, like it's clear enough to read. I think they're getting better at actually hiding these days. Look at it in color and everything, right? Question number one, reporter Q&A. This is the date, April 26, 2023. Courtney Subramanian. I actually need the pronunciation. Subramanian. Los Angeles Times. Circle. Los Angeles Times. All right. Foreign policy semiconductor manufacturing. How are you squaring your domestic policies? Like reshoring semiconductor manufacturing. with allied foreign policy. Notice how notice how it's written in the form of a question. So what this means is that Joe Biden is given the questions ahead of time by the corporate media simps who are there at the White House in order to rig elections. The media is involved. The media is a player in all of this. It is why the work that we're doing is so important. It is why we're so thankful for you. It is why we're so thankful for for what we're building here. Because I got to tell you, there's, I have no doubt they've come to cancel me a million times. They're always like, they're always coming at every person that has like a platform or that speaks freely. Every one of them, right? Whether it's Candace, Tucker, fill up the list. But I'm telling you, like, the one thing they'll never get me on is here's a list of questions ahead of time that I will give to you. Person. We do a lot of interviews on the show. We do interviews with big time, powerful people. Some people that are like relatively adversarial, right? Some people that we agree with, some people we don't agree with. Some people that really need to be pressed on some issues. I promise you that never is like a list of questions given ahead of time. Yet here we have the photo of the actual question given to Joe Biden. And as sure as shooting, guess what happened? Man, I'd make a fortune. I should start betting on this. I should start betting. I should start bets, right, as to who's going to get the first question at the White House with Joe Biden. All you have to do is read his damn note cards. They give Joe Biden the questions ahead of time. And what happened here? Well, Joe Biden asked the damn question. He was asked the damn question. I mean, it's incredible. So here he is calling on the reporter.
Now we're going to take some questions. The first question is from Courtney of the Los Angeles Times.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your top economic priority has been to build up U.S. domestic manufacturing in competition with China. But your rules against expanding chip manufacturing in China is hurting South Korean companies that rely heavily on Beijing. Are you damaging a key ally in the competition with China to help your domestic politics ahead of the election?
No.
I mean, look at it. Look at it. Look. I mean, it's about as close as word for word as you can get. How are you squaring your domestic priorities with semiconductor manufacturing, foreign policies, and the friction around China? You can you can make out the question right there. They gave him the damn question. And then she asked, some people said online at the time, well, it wasn't word for word. Are you kidding? Remember the time when Trump would walk out, would puff up his trench coat and then say, I gotta go talk to the fake news. And he'd walk over there and there'd be like a wall of reporters 50 feet high and deep. And he'd just be like, all right, what you got for me? And they just start peppering him with questions. He'd do that for an hour. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that this is obviously what happens. And even still, with this manufactured, artificial, total marionette meat puppet operation they got with Joe Biden, he still F's the thing up day and night, right? He still cannot deliver an answer. He still screws it up. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, for instance, a couple of examples of that. But let's jump into our first story, okay? Before we go in hard on how bad Joe Biden actually is on this. So Sage Steele is the former ESPN reporter who has come out effectively this morning and said my interview with Joe Biden that she did for Sports Center, right? Big time operation, big corporate media operation with ABC News, right? Owned by ABC, which is owned by Disney, which is the biggest media company on earth. The worst, but also the biggest media company on earth, ladies and gentlemen. She says that, nope, everything that I did was entirely scripted. The interview was scripted. They told me, my bosses told me what the questions were going to be. And Joe Biden knew what those questions were ahead of time. Now, this was during the 2020 election, ladies and gentlemen. So here they are trying to effectively rig the election. I'm sorry, correction. 2021 interview, Joe Biden was just installed as president of the White House. Former ESPN host Sage Steele reveals 2021 interview with President Biden was scripted by network executives. In an interview with Fox News Digital, Steele recalled the structured nature of the pre-taped interview. So much so that her ESPN bosses handed her a script to go off of. Let's watch.
This was about 2 months after he took office. That was an interesting experience in its own right because it was so structured, and I was told, you will say every word that we write out. You will not deviate from the script and go to the word. Like every single question was scripted, gone over dozens of times by many executives, editors and executives. Absolutely. I was on script and was told not to deviate. It was very much, this is what you will ask. This is how you will say it. No follow-ups. No follow-ups. Next. I knew that this was a lot bigger than just the wonderful editors that I worked with. This went up to the fourth floor, as we said, that were all the bosses, the top executives, the decision makers are the president of our company, the CEO, where they all worked.
So this was a interview that was done about sports leagues restoring normalcy during COVID. I mean, this wasn't some type of hard hitting, like this wasn't some type of like harsh meeting with Vladimir Putin, NATO summit thing, right? Like this wasn't some type of massive G20, like harsh economic, like back and forth. Like this was about Major League Baseball. I mean, this was an interview, like a cutesy interview about sports. I'm obviously not trying to downplay Sage Steele's reporting here or what she does professionally. She's awesome. But this was not some type of like massive, what's the right way to say this? The president always gets talking points, right? Given the topic, but this wasn't some type of like massive international terrorism, economic fallout situation, Russia, Ukraine, war. This wasn't that. They were talking about sports. And Joe Biden was given effectively every question in advance to talk about sports. Like truly, unbelievably remarkable. How do his loved ones allow this? How do they do it? How do they do it? Like, at what point do we bring the charges, the true federal charges that need to be brought, which is the elder abuse charge against Joe Biden? Like, at what point do you say, enough? How do loved ones allow this? Take it away, Sage.
The big picture to me is that I think it's heartbreaking. I think it's really heartbreaking that the people who love Joe Biden and say they truly care about him have allowed it to get to this point. So I'm not even looking at this from a political angle or my beliefs in anything. This is the human side of it. And when someone is struggling, we allow them to continue to be in the spotlight and put them out there in the first place when they knew there were issues. Of course, they had to know. So it's a humanity thing with me where I don't care where anyone stands and what they vote in for or who they believe in. Do you really care about that person? As a father, as a husband,
So it's it's bad, right? How bad does it get? It gets worse. Joe Biden on Jimmy Kimmel is like trying to give an answer to a question. And his question is so meandering. I mean, this is Jimmy Kimmel. So what have we covered here? We've covered paid propaganda, paid like literal toe-sucking propagandist. Like somebody who raps Biden's bunions on MSNBC. He can't stand for that. He literally has to get up and walk away. Sports reporter. He has to get the notes. Questions at the White House, totally pre-scripted. Ryan Seacrest, Joe Biden looking like a glazed donut. And now Jimmy Kimmel, Democrat super donor, guy who literally every monologue is against Trump, comedian. Joe Biden goes on his show, and it goes so poorly that Jimmy Kimmel has to emergency hit the red button and cut to commercial. Why we don't talk about more about that? This is why you tune into this show, because we like have this deep encyclopedic knowledge of these moments. We catch them all, okay? With the Pokemon, bang, bang, bang. Gotta catch them all. Here's this one. It's so cringe. Watch.
No question
So there's
about
a
it.
lot of major things we've done, but what we haven't done is we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is. Let me say another way.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah,
Well,
we haven't been able to communicate
But
it.
look how the press has changed. Look how the press has changed.
It has changed. Oh, listen, I get it.
I know you overstand it.
Yeah.
You don't just understand it, you overstand it. But here's the deal. One of the things is that it's very difficult now to have even with notable exceptions, even the really good reporters, they have to get the number of clicks on nightly news. So instead of asking a question, anyway, it just everything gets sensationalized in ways that. But I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look.
I'm going to take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more, if you
don't
don't
blame
mind.
you.
I'm sorry. Sorry, we have some of those commercials. We have some biracial commercials we need to show.
How embarrassing. Like, at what point? We should have done a cringe alert for that one, ALX. We should have done the cringe alert. Like, at what point? Like, at what point do you just, like, start to feel like the guy who's, like, the old doddering nursing home activity hour guy who's, like, standing in the corner trying to play tic-tac-toe, trying to, like, find the jukebox that doesn't exist? Like, you just feel bad, right? And you'd feel bad if that's what Joe Biden was doing where he belongs, in the nursing home. But he's not in the nursing home. He's running the damn country. Last I checked, the language of the country was English. And so, English, mother effer, do you speak it? I try to swear, but it's like a great line, right? Quentin Tarantino movie, Pulp Fiction. English, do you speak it? No, Joe Biden doesn't.
The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder why it's called.
Say a lot of things about Joe Biden, so I'm going to do my best to simply quote this damn man. Beer brew here, beer brew here, Earth Rider, the Great Lakes. That's the quote. We've literally written it out before. Maybe we should get that clip with the follow the bouncing ball. Jerry, can we do the follow the bouncing ball on that clip? We don't have to do it for this show. But next time I play that, I want to see the letters. I want to see, like, the words he's saying, and I want the ball to sort of bounce like they used to do in the old Disney sing-alongs. And let's follow the bouncing ball. Beer brew here, beer brew here, Earth Rider, the Great Lakes. Is that you communicating with your lizard overlords? I don't know. It's not English. It's not English. Just a week ago, Joe Biden demanded the voters send him back to Congress.
In Pennsylvania, I have a message for you. Send me to Congress that I can support this right, and I promise you, if we take back Congress, we will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land.
You can see it. What if, like, I tell you this, I have a wife that loves me, okay? Unlike Joe Biden. If I did the show, and every time I tried to, like, have an independent thought, I went like this. Like, you could see that my brain, the muscles in my brain were, like, pulsating and snapping, right? Because I can't, like, come up with a thought. And you see Biden doing that all the time, right? The twisted, like, pain, like that twisted, harsh expression. Don't read too many of Hunter Biden's private text messages. But if you read them with the family doctors of the Bidens, you'll see that Hunter Biden regularly joked or explained that Joe Biden has dementia. He does this. Hunter Biden does this in his private text messages with the family physicians. He's like, Joe Biden, he's got dementia, and we're trying to fix his dementia. This is Hunter Biden. Like, I don't know why we don't talk about this. Apparently it's naughty to like talk about Hunter Biden's private text messages. Well, we have them. And Hunter Biden regularly describes this. You know who else describes it? Members of the White House. Here's a guy from Joe Biden's National Security Council telling James O'Keefe on a Grindr date that the only thing that's going to get ground to powder is Joe Biden's frontal lobe. Here.
Everything that Biden is doing, I love his policies. Just witnessing it, just looks, it's a bad look. I mean, he can't, struggles to talk.
Yes. Yes, he's no Barack Obama.
Is he going to be the nominee?
Yes. And she will be the vice president nominee.
Yeah, I don't...
There was a debate about removing her from the ticket, but sadly they didn't.
I agree with everything Biden is doing. It's just his cognitive ability. Like, I have a grandfather who's 91.
Okay.
And Joe Biden is worse than my grandfather who has dementia.
Yeah.
You know, he's sort of walking like this, and he's sort of like, you know, and I think that voters are going to look at that, and it's going to hurt us. I think that independents are going to look at that, and they're going to be like, I can't deal with that. But with him, I know. He's got dementia.
Yeah, well, I don't think he has that clinically yet.
Not yet.
But he's definitely slowing down.
My question is, are the people, like your colleagues or the White House or whatever, do they get it? Do they know that? You know?
I think that they probably do, but no one in modern history has ever said, like, we're not going to renominate the president for a second term. That just hasn't happened.
So they know that he has those issues.
I think so.
But they're not willing to say it.
Shows it. And,
they're not willing to say it
correct.
publicly.
Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. The members of Joe Biden's staff say, and the best part of that, I mean, it's James O'Keefe. The Academy Awards were just a few weeks ago. James O'Keefe should have won every Best Actor nomination. But the most telling part of that interview is Joe Biden has dementia, right? Well, maybe not yet clinically, the guy says. Yeah, clinically. Maybe just, like, we have kept him from being diagnosed with dementia, which is actually the biggest takeaway here. Because every time there's questions about the White House doctor or a cognitive test, you see them all bristle and scream, shut up, Joe Biden's fine, right? And how do you know something's infected? It hurts when you touch it, right? You press on it, and it hurts, and you see the reaction, and they tense up. You know that they know, and we know that they know, and they know that we know. And they're not going to do the test because they know what it would show. And so the best that they can do is cover it up. Final word on all of this, ladies and gentlemen, about covering this up, is there is an important clip. It also comes from James O'Keefe that shows you exactly the lengths to which they will go to protect people like Joe Biden and people that just appeared on the stage with Joe Biden, the multiple predators who appeared on the stage with Joe Biden so that Democrats could just shovel money at them. Predators like Bill Clinton, known predators who had to pay out millions of dollars, obviously, to victims, and other predators, obviously, like Lizzo, right? Democrats came to go squee and shove money into their pockets. Joe Biden on stage. The corporate press have worked actively to protect these people and to shield them from criticism, even when those people were doing crimes as bad or worse than what Joe Biden's doing to this nation. I mean, it's hard to think of worse crimes than what happened on Epstein's island. Yet we have on tape, and it's amazing how it always goes back to ABC. ABC owns ESPN. ABC was the reporters at the White House. ABC was Ryan Seacrest and New Year's Eve. And ABC is Amy Rohrbach saying during a commercial break, fuming, that she had the Clintons dead to rights on the Epstein pedophile ring. Now, she's never explained herself here. She just had to send out a pithy statement, and then she got fired, right? This reporter, but this reporter was the most respected on-camera talent at all of ABC. And of all people, James O'Keefe was able to get this footage of her venting and fuming that ABC News stopped her from publishing a report that would implicate Bill Clinton in the world's largest pederast ring and predator ring. Why the hell would they do that? Well, to obviously protect elite institutions of power. You can just do whatever you want. And as long as the media is able to protect you and kill the stories about the evils that you're doing, including these evils to these little children, well, I mean, at what point do you just straight up call it satanic? At what point do you just call it what it is, demonic? Right? This is why it's so important to fight for a free press in this country. Here you go.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago.
I had it all, and they killed it. And if you line up the timelines there, you'll find that they killed it just in time for Hillary Clinton to run for president. The last thing you'd want is in 2016, Hillary Clinton to run for president 3 years ago, right? That tape from 2018, and you want a big, giant Jeffrey Epstein story about her husband going back into the White House, little St. James moving from the Caribbean right back into the White House. Okay? Just strip off the paint on Air Force One and put the Lolita Express on the side. Bill Clinton just taking it national. And so why'd they kill it? To help Hillary Clinton. Why do they hand scripts to their reporters? To help Joe Biden.